Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3963 AN. Today's date is August 4th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Watch Gas Prices. Industry is coming back to the U.S. Milei begins to restructure the central bank. Now, the people of this country, they're feeling it. We know what the Biden administration has done. They made inflation worse than ever. Every time you check out at the grocery store, every time the pump clicks past a number that used to fill the whole tank, dinner out that cost what a week of groceries used to, nobody has to tell you inflation is real. You're living it. Why? Because the Federal Reserve is responsible. So the question isn't whether you feel it, it's what you're going to do about it. Gold is an asset that holds its ground when the dollar loses value. And here's the part that matters. This alarm bell isn't about today or tomorrow. It's about 20 years from now. It's about making sure the money you work for still takes care of you and your family when you need it most. It's about preparing for the world we're heading into. That's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They've helped everyday Americans protect their savings with physical gold and silver for over a decade, and they do it the honest way. Simple, transparent, no games. Call them at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. Or go to x22gold.com. That is x22gold.com, or just click the link in the description. Your wealth isn't going to protect itself. And one more thing, it's America's 250th, and Noble Gold celebrating it by sending you a free 10-ounce U.S. independent silver bar when you open a new qualified account. Just mention my name, and they'll take care of the rest. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, as you can see, they have been wrong about pretty much everything. When they talk about tariffs and how it was going to create inflation like we've never seen before, completely and utterly wrong. When they said, Trump going into Iran is going to raise the gas prices to heights that we've never seen before, $120, $150 a barrel of gas. That never happened. Actually, the opposite is happening right now. Fuel prices are going down. If you look at the price of oil per barrel, we're about, $75, $76 per barrel. Yes, there are mechanisms in place which don't allow the gas prices at the retail level to come down as quickly as they go up. And I think what Trump is doing, he's calling the oil companies out on all of this. It's almost like when you look at the meat packing, where they had a monopoly on the meat packing, they drove the prices up. When you look at the egg producers, the same thing, they drove the egg prices up. And now Trump is calling on the oil industry, letting everyone know that he knows exactly what is going on and why gas prices at the retail level don't come down as quickly. And he's calling on the oil companies to give back to the people, saying you're making a lot of money off of this because, again, this is how their system is designed. When the oil prices go up, they come down very, very slowly, and they make huge amount of profits. And he's telling the oil companies, why don't you give a little bit back to the people? Why don't you help them out at the gas pumps? And I do believe in the end, most likely they probably will end up doing that. But what we're going to see is we're going to see gas prices continue to drop. And once Trump decentralizes the entire oil industry and the central bank and the deep state players don't have control over it anymore, you're going to see oil prices come down a lot. Now, you have to remember, this is all about timing. We're approaching the midterms. If Trump did this last year, most of the people would not remember it. I mean, you would have the deep state, you would have the fake news bring up something else. If gas prices went up just by 10 cents, they would bring that into play saying, hey, look, it's up 10%. Nobody can afford anything, because everyone would have gotten used to the lower price. So if you're going to time this correctly and you want it fresh in the people's memory, you do it at the last moment. And I don't mean like a day before, like a month or two before. And you show people, look, fuel prices are coming down. Whatever the economists said, whatever the deep state, the D's have said, it is completely and utterly wrong. We're heading in the right direction. I do believe this is exactly what Trump is doing. And you have to remember, over a very long period of time, you had the D's and the Republicans, and let's just call them rhinos. They've been supporting the central bank system that we're in today. And they use taxes to play with the people of this country. Oh, the D's are going to raise your taxes. Oh, the rhinos are going to lower your taxes. But again, when you look at the grand picture here, the only reason we have the taxes that we have today is because we're in a debt-based system. We're not in an income system. And the debt-based system demands that you take the money from within the country to control the people of the country. Because again, the central bank, they don't want you dependent on tariffs coming in because that would limit them, wouldn't it? And you wouldn't be able to control the people. So over time, you could see that these people have been using this to convince the people that taxes are here to stay, but we can, raise them and lower them a little bit and make you happy. But again, the reason why we're seeing increased food costs, we're seeing increased products, where it's because of the central bank. They have created this system, which is going back thousands of years. They created this system that devalues the currency as time goes on. Now, the way they developed the system is they blame it on the corrupt politicians, but the corrupt politicians protect the central bank system. So the central bank knows their system, what it's going to do. They know the corrupt people will spend and spend and spend. And that means they're going to borrow and borrow and borrow, which means it's going to put a lot more currency into circulation, which is going to devalue the currency. They know this. But again, they always hide in the shadows. They always blame everyone else. And they always use taxes to control the people. I do believe that Trump now is going to be removing everything that they put into place. And taxes will be a moot point in the end. And think about how they do it. Here's Robert Reich. He was the Secretary of Labor under Clinton. And he says the effective federal corporate income tax rate in 1950 was 50%, 1990 was 25%, 2020 was 13%. Stop asking but how we will pay for it. Restore the corporate tax rate. That is how we will pay for it. Really? So we know that if corporations are hit with higher taxes, what happens? It trickles down to their products. The people end up paying a lot more. Does that really help the people out in the end? No, it does not. The Wakin Outlaw responded to this and says, the left can't tax you enough. There are a number of things wrong with this lame attempt at a comparison. But the part this type never seems to grasp is that the higher corporate taxes are a tax on the people because they pass those expenses onto the price of their goods and services. Absolutely. It's almost like, hey, you know what? Let's increase the minimum wage. Because we're seeing inflation all over the place, which is the devaluation of the currency, and these people are suffering, so let's increase the minimum wage. What happens? We saw it out in California. It's a perfect example. You don't have to guess on what's going to happen. Businesses closed. They removed a lot of the employees. They went to technology. People who come in, they're helping themselves now. So again, we have to ask the simple question. Why is this happening? Why do we need these type of taxes? Why do we need income tax? It's all because of the private Western central bank system. Remember, our founding fathers never, ever wanted anything like this whatsoever. And people are very, very worried about the cost of everything. You have to remember, Trump is not just, lowering gas prices by 30 cents and making food drop a little bit to make you feel good, having wages go up by 3%. Yeah, that's status quo. That's how it's been since 1913. Actually, let's just go back to 1971. This is how it's been since 1971. So is that going to solve the problem? No. It just puts a Band-Aid over it. Makes people feel good. Makes people feel like, wow, this is fantastic. But in the long run, what do you have to do? What's the cause of all of this? Remember, food production and the ability to harvest the food, the ability to truck the food and deliver the food, well, that has been streamlined. So it's not that expensive to do. The only reason it's expensive is because of the devaluation of the currency or higher energy costs. But higher energy costs, you can deal with that. You can lower the energy costs. Of course, the central bank doesn't want that to happen because they're trying to bring us into the Green New scam. But yes, you can mitigate the cost of food. You can mitigate the cost of products. But again, over time, that only helps for so long. Because again, you have to keep lowering the energy costs, but inflation is always added to the system, which means the currency is being devalued at 1% or 2% or 3% or 4% or 5%, whatever the amount is for that time period. So it never goes away. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And this is why people are feeling the pressure. So what Trump is doing out in Iran and what he's doing with the economy, he's reversing everything the central bank has done. He's reversing all of this so we can go back to a sound money system where we don't have these problems that we have now. We're going from a debt system to an income system. And you can see people need to step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Yes, he can make you feel good for a little bit, but it's not going to last. People are going to be very angry and pissed off later on. It's time to take what we have and remove it. We need to go to the source of the problem. We don't need any more Band-Aid fix. We don't need a debt ceiling again to be raised. We don't need a fight on taxes. We need to go to what the problem actually is. And you can see that, yes, people feel stressed. People feel like, what are we doing here? I mean, Matt Walsh is saying it. The establishment Republicans have arrived to inform you that if you're worried about grocery prices, you're just a whiny doomer. And really, it's fine that prices have gone up 30% because at least you're better off than someone who lived 125 years ago. This is a winning message. I'm sure the voters will respond very well to it. So basically, the reason why you're experiencing all this is because of what the central bank has set up. Trump now is in the process of removing the central bank system the way they have it set up. And yes, he had to go out to Iran. Eventually, somebody had to do it. You had to remove the control of the price of energy. And once that is done, which is very, very close to being done, all of a sudden, you're going to see all these people complaining, all these people that are whining. You're going to see fuel prices drop like a rock, just like we did the first time around. When Trump said, okay, we have a memorandum of understanding, prices came down 50, 60 cents. You're going to see them drop even further. And yes, it's going to affect the food prices. The food prices are going to come down because delivery costs are going to get less. The production, the harvesting is going to cost less. And you're going to see everything change. Remember, Trump is not just doing a Band-Aid fix. He's reversing everything that they put into place. And yes, you're going to feel a little bit of short-term pain to receive that long-term gain. So that is what people are going to experience. And yes, as of right now, it feels this way. And think about how Trump timed this. He timed it right before the midterms. He knows how long it's going to take for the prices to come down. He knows that there's going to be certain industries that are going to assist in this. We're already starting to see this. Why do you think he mentioned, hey, look, these supermarkets, they're going to be lowering prices. Walmart's going to be lowering the prices. These gas stations are going to be lowering the prices. Now he's calling on the oil producers to lower the prices. Why do you think he's doing this? Because once again, he knows how to cut this and cut it quickly. And we know that midterm elections are coming and control of Congress is on the line. If there's one thing financial markets hate, it's uncertainty. And uncertainty is exactly what the next few months are going to bring. In 2024, taught us anything? It's that uncertainty breeds volatility. Between now and November could be one of the most volatile stretches for the stock market and the economy. You owe it to yourself to have a plan. And here's the good news. There's a simple way to protect what you've built, and that is gold. Physical gold and silver let you hedge the volatility. There's no better partner for it than Noble Gold Investments. For over a decade, Noble Gold has helped everyday Americans protect their wealth with precious metals. They make it simple, they make it easy, they make it safe. Call them at 877-646-5347. That is 877-646-5347. Or visit X22Gold.com to find out how to protect yourself, your wealth, and your family. Once again, that is X22Gold.com. Or click the link in the description. Election day is coming. Don't let it arrive without a plan. And here's the part I love. To celebrate America's 250th, just mention my name when you call Noble Gold, and they'll send you a free 10-ounce silver bar when you open up a new qualified account. Mention my name. That's all you got to do. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. And since it's going to be cut very quickly, then what he has done out in Iran will start to take effect. And then all of a sudden, the prices will come way, way down, and people will feel it. This is what he's doing right now. And you can see Trump was right. All those people that are complaining about billionaires and corporate America and everything like that, and they went up against Trump saying, hey, tariffs suck, tariffs cause inflation, we're paying more. And they were all cheering when the Supreme Court ruled against him, actually the people of this country, and said, hey, the corporations get their money back. Did people really believe that the companies were going to take that money and then give it back to the people and lower the cost of their products? No, of course they weren't. American Value says Democrat tariff refunds for the billionaire class. Walmart, $2.4 billion. Apple, $2.2 billion. Ford, $1.3 billion. Amazon, $600 million. Your refund, zero. Awaken Outlaw says the same people who rail against billionaires And we're happy that Trump and therefore America didn't get the tariff profits. We're ironically cheering for the money to go to the billionaires. Good work, idiots. Absolutely. And think about it. Trump taking all this money in via tariffs. It's not just about taking the money in. Yes, that's very important. But it's also about bringing these manufacturers back to this country. So there are no tariffs on these companies. Think about the companies. Walmart, American company. Apple, an American company. Ford, an American company. Amazon, an American company. So why wouldn't they do business here instead of doing it overseas? That's the whole point, to bring them back here. And the profits that we're collecting, because you're not in America, those profits could have been distributed to the American people via dividends. But think about how much money the companies got back. So once again, you could see these idiots, they're just hurting themselves. And Trump, like we said before, he's telling the oil companies right now, I'm calling them out by name, so the people know, and he knows that there are certain mechanisms that are in place that, yes, that drives oil prices, gas prices, I should say, up very, very quickly, and actually allows the gas prices to come down very, very slowly so the oil companies make a huge profit. And he's calling them out on this. And he's saying, listen, why don't you give back to lower the gas prices? I know what you're doing. Now the people know what you're doing. The people see these mechanisms in place. They're scratching their head saying, okay, I see oil per barrel around 76, 77, it's dropping, but gas prices, why aren't they dropping as quickly? And people are questioning all this. And Trump, he was being asked a question, and he accused big oil companies of making too much money off the Iran war, and he called them out by name. Eric Doherty put this out. Chevron, too much money. ExxonMobil, too much money. I'm not happy, he says. Give some of that back to the public. When you look at one of the companies, they made 12 times what they made the year before. They better cut the retail price, the consumer price. You're surprised I'm saying it, he says to the reporter? I'll say it loud and clear. And he's calling them out on this because this is the way the system has been set up for a very long time. Because again, the deep state, the central bankers, they didn't want oil prices to come down too quickly. They wanted actually oil prices to go up. They wanted gas prices to go up because again, what was their main objective? Their main objective is to bring us into the Green New scam. And you could see that at this point in time, this is not the direction we're heading in, and Trump is calling them out on it. So you got to watch gas prices now, because I do believe since he has done this, I do believe you're going to see announcements from some of these oil companies, and you're going to start to see oil or gas prices, I should say, come down at the pump a lot faster. Timing is very, very interesting, isn't it? Right before the midterms. All the people that are complaining about gas prices, all the people that are complaining that everything's too high, you have to remember, the reason why it's all too high is because of the central bank system. Inflation is cumulative. Yes, can Trump mitigate a lot of this with the energy costs? Of course they can. Can he make it disappear? No. But again, inflation will always be added on to, either at 2% or 3% or 4%, whatever the percentage is. It doesn't go away. It's almost like someone who's gained 150 pounds and now they weigh, let's say 350. And they say, you know what? Last year I gained 150. I'm going to go on a diet and I am not going to gain that much weight. So now they're only putting on 10 pounds a month or 5 pounds a month. They're still adding on to the weight that they had before. Yes, it might be 60 pounds that year instead of 150 if it's 5 pounds each month, but they're still putting that weight on. The other weight doesn't disappear. So once again, that's what our system is today. When you hear 1%, 2%, it's being added to the inflation, the devaluation of the currency that we already have. This is why we're not back at 1971 prices. That's why you're never going to see that unless you take the money out of circulation and repay it to the Federal Reserve. And we go back to sound money, which I do believe that's what Trump is preparing to do. This is why he mentioned. Now, this can't happen tomorrow because, again, he has to reverse a lot of what the central bank has put into place. We have to make sure that we have an income system, and we have to make sure that it's bringing in tons and tons of money to support the government that's going to be shrunk down in size. Remember, the central bank bloated the government Because this way they could say, hey, a tariff system can't support this type of government. Well, yeah, we don't need this type of government. That's the whole point. And you could see that Trump now is shutting down the H-1B visa fraud system, and he's bringing the jobs back to the American people. Eric Doherty put this out and said, Trump's Labor Department has just banned multiple employers from the H-1B visa program after they scammed the system to undercut Americans. If you're screwing over American workers, we're coming for you. So basically, again, the H-1B system that was developed screws the American workers. Joe Lane says Trump warned them all. Many of the companies abusing the H-1B visa program were given the chance to do the right thing, and now those that haven't are going to face the consequences. Fraud is a crime. The business thinking they could keep taking advantage of the American people are now targeted. Absolutely. And yes, you're going to see they're going to be held responsible for this, and jobs are going to be coming back to the American people. Actually, it's already being reported that wages for American people are starting to move up. And again, this is a slow process. Trump is moving this gigantic cargo ship, and he's turning it. And again, cargo ships do not turn on, at lightning speed. It takes a long time to turn the cargo ship, and that's exactly what we're seeing. But think about it. We are starting to see that the U.S. in steel production has now exceeded Japan's for the first time in 26 years. That should tell you everything you need to know right there. And think about all the tariffs that Trump has placed on all these countries to even out trade across the globe. He's actually destroyed the globalist trade system. Well, he put this out on Truth, and this is coming from the UAW International Union. And it says, Detroit Diesel, a manufacturer of diesel engines and axles in Detroit, has announced the addition of a third shift, the recall of laid-off workers, and the hiring of dozens more in response to strategic tariff pressures. In October, after months of lobbying, the federal government imposed a 25% tariff on heavy truck imports to prevent further offshoring and drive investment in the U.S. heavy trucking industry. The move is the latest win for UAW members in the union's fight for reshoring and reinvesting in good union jobs. Strategic targeting tariffs are an important tool in the toolbox to undo the damage of our free trade disaster and bring back good union jobs to the U.S. Companies like Detroit Diesel and their parent company, Daimler Truck North America, need to step up to reinvest in the workers who make the product and stop laying off American workers while making billions in profit. We applaud this first step in the right direction. Detroit Diesel UAW members build a high-quality product that makes this company billions, and it's only right that this company would invest right here in Michigan and recognize that success. So basically, you could see that all of a sudden, because of the tariffs, the jobs are now coming back here to the United States. And this is going to continue to happen over time. Because again, what is Trump setting all of this up to do? He's setting it up to restructure the central bank system. And this cannot happen overnight. Actually, if he shut down the central bank system, it would destroy the economy here in the United States and probably the world economy. So slowly but surely, he has to transition the entire system into the new system. And think about what Milei has done. He has turned his country completely around. He has stopped the high inflation. He's put the country on the right track. And now he's going after the central bank system. Does he want to get rid of the central bank system right off the bat? No, he has to basically restructure it and then transition it into what he wants it to be. And this is what he's doing right now. And again, you have to remember, he just can't do this on his own. He'll need legislation to restructure the central bank, just like we will need legislation here in the United States to restructure the central bank. But you can begin the process. So Milei, who's the president of Argentina, has unveiled one of the most ambitious institutional reforms of his administration, a sweeping overhaul of the Central Bank of Argentina's charter designed to prevent future government from financing public spending by printing money. The proposal is part of a broader package of economic reforms that Milei says is essential to securing long-term monetary stability and preventing the return of the inflationary policies that have plagued Argentina for decades. The initiative also includes so-called fiscal restraint mechanisms, partially inspired by U.S. budget discipline rules aimed at limiting chronic government deficits. So the legislation still has to be passed by Congress, and the government has outlined 5 key components. A complete ban on the central bank directly or indirectly financing the federal government. Stronger institutional independence for the BCRA from the executive branch. Stricter rules governing the appointment, tenure, and removal of central bank officials. Restoration of the bank's primary mission, preserving the value of Argentina's currency by eliminating the multiple policy objectives introduced in 2012. Limits on political interference in monetary policy. So basically, he's restructuring the entire central bank. I mean, is it perfect right now? Of course not. Is he going to just scrap it and say, hey, we're done with it? No. He still needs the central bank system for the economy, but he can restructure it and he can take control over it. And over time, you can start dismantling it as you put your income system into place. And I do believe that is what he's going to do. But again, he had to basically undo everything the deep state players have done over many, many years. And actually, he's done this very, very quickly. Trump is doing the same exact thing right now. He's removing everything that they put into place. Remember, in 1960, 1970s, through the 80s, where did we see manufacturers go? Overseas. Ask yourself a simple question. Why? Why did we come off the gold standard in the 70s? Same time that all of a sudden manufacturers were being shipped across the seas. Why did we go into the petrodollar system? Why did oil continually rise over time? Why couldn't we drill here in the United States? Why were we dependent on other nations? Why did Iran and the deep state, the central bankers, control the price of oil? Why did we have a system that creates inflation, which is the devaluation of the currency? Why was all this done? Because, again, the central bank took over a long time ago. And Trump now is here reversing everything that they did. He's preparing the new system. He's preparing the restructure of the central bank. He's preparing all of this. And you just can't do it without preparing for something. It's like building a building. You don't wake up one day and say, hey, you want to start putting it up today? Well, you need the engineering, you need the foundation, you need the materials, you need the drawings, you need approvals, you need all these different things. You need to make sure that everything is put into place. And then you can move forward with the plan. And that's what Trump has been doing. He's been building all of this and reversing everything the central bank has put into place. And when the time is right, you're going to see step by step how we transition into the new system. Argentina's already doing it. And we're going to be doing it too. And this is going to change the world the way we know it today. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.